Hello Explorer, welcome along to a brand new bonus episode of the greatest podcast in the universe. It's time for the Fun Kids Science Midweekly. My name's Dan, you and me, we always search the solar system for those science secrets that are stuffed and squirreled away. And this is a question special. If you ever have anything sciencey that you want answered, make sure you leave it as a voice note for me on the free Fun Kids app. You can do it at funkidslive.com too. This week, we're hearing about rotting mummies, exploding suns, and sharp teeth. So let's get straight to it then. First question is from Leo. What do you have, Leo?
Hi Dan, my name's Leo, and my question is, how are magnetic fields created?
Leo, thank you for sending that in. How are magnetic fields created? Well, a magnetic field is an area around something where those forces, those magnetic forces, can be felt. So something in that space, in that field, could be attracted or repelled by the magnetism. Right, there are two main ways that a magnetic field can be made. One is with electric charges. So when an electric current flows through a wire, maybe powering your telly, whatever it is, this creates a magnetic field around the wire. Or another way is when electrons move around in atoms, which they're doing all the time, and they create a magnetic field. Remember, it's always the motion of electrons moving that creates magnetism. Electrons are tiny little subatomic particles, and they move around the outside of the center of an atom. So they're always moving, so they're always creating an electrical and then magnetic field. So the Earth has a magnetic field because the core, the inside of our planet, has a lot of iron and nickel. Those are metals. Those are good conductors of electricity. And, well, the electrons in those elements, in the atoms, they're always moving around. So they create that magnetic field, which is why we have a north and a south pole, which means it can affect things that are magnetic. So there's a lot going on with electrons, electric and magnetic fields. But that's really as to the point as I can try and make it. Almost everything has electrons. Electrons moving creates a charge, which creates an electrical and magnetic field. So pretty much everything has that magnetic field, Leo. Thank you very much for the question. Here's one from Elijah, who wants to know, why don't Egyptian mummies rot? The Science Weekly is getting a little bit historical with this one. Thank you, Elijah. Well, mummies are embalmed, which lets them stay preserved for ages. So way back, using very special processes, ancient Egyptians, they would take all of the water out of the body so it wouldn't decay. They'd figured out that water was where most of the bacteria lived. So if you got rid of the water, there was no bacteria there to eat away at the body and the bones. And how they would do this, they would soak the body in salt, which would take all that water away. They would leave it there for about 40 days. And then they would stuff the body with sawdust coated in special oils. That would help it out. It would help it stay preserved. Then they would wrap it up in all the bandages, the classic bandages that you see. That would keep all the air away, and that would let that body almost stay fresh. It's a bit like a sandwich that you might get at the shops. You know, it's been sealed. Nothing else can get in, so nothing can damage the bread. In this case, it's an ancient Egyptian dead body. Anyway, they did this because they believed that the body needed to be perfect to reach afterlife after they died. So they would take away everything bad, all the bacteria that might eat away at the body from the inside, and then they would lock it up to stop anything from the outside getting in, Elijah. And that's why Egyptian mummies don't rot. Here's a question from Audrey. Does a shark have sharper teeth than a crocodile? What a battle. What a battle. Shark versus crocs. It's a fight. Well, probably yes, the answer is. It's quite hard to define, though. So instead of figuring out whose is sharper, let's talk about the differences. A crocodile's teeth, they're more coned at the top. They've got some sharp ridges, but the teeth are used for crushing, for squeezing down. Because a croc won't often swallow prey whole, it doesn't need to properly chop through its meal. It needs to kind of crush it and grind it. A great white shark's teeth have jagged edges. They cut like a knife, so it can chomp and cut and slice and chew down its prey into chunks. The big difference is the amount of teeth, Audrey. A crocodile has about 70 teeth. Great white sharks have up to 300, and they press down with huge pressure. 4,000 psi, that's a measurement of force. And that's a huge measurement of force. 4,000 psi is like having a gigantic slab of cement thrown at you. And it's even worse than that. And that's the damage, the pressure that a great white shark does. And with those teeth, so they've got about 300, but they break quite easily. So they've always got a conveyor belt of new teeth moving to the front, Audrey. Thank you for the question. The answer, sharks probably have sharper teeth than a crocodile, but they're used for different things. They have different purposes in how they eat. Let's get on another one then. This is a voice note from Daniel. What do you have, Daniel?
Hi. Is there a possibility of the sun exploding, causing a massive supernova?
Is there a possibility of our sun exploding? Well, no, not really. Experts don't think that it'll explode like an explosion. It's too small, it's too stable for that to happen. But it's not going to be around forever. What scientists think will happen is actually still pretty terrifying, okay? They think that the sun is about halfway through its life. It's about 4.5 billion years old. And experts say in another 4.5 billion years, the sun will start to run out of fuel. At the moment, the sun runs on hydrogen. It converts the hydrogen atoms to helium atoms, and that gives it power. That throws different elements around the universe. At one point, it will run out of hydrogen. And when that happens, the outer layers of the sun slowly expand. They get bigger, and they become what's known as a red giant. When it expands and gets bigger and bigger, experts think it will swallow the planet Mercury, Venus, maybe even get so wide it engulfs Earth as well. It's 4.5 billion years away, you don't need to worry about it. Then it will get so big, scientists say, that bits of the sun will break off and float into space. But yeah, almost 5 billion years away. It's more of a peaceful transformation than a big explosive blast, Daniel. Nothing to worry about there. Thank you for your question. Let's get on one more. This is from Maggie. Maggie wants to know, can cats and dogs see in colour like humans? Well, yes and no. They can see in colour, but not like humans. Colour is our brain's way of processing different light waves. Different size of light waves we recognise as a different colour. We've got little things in the back of our eyes. They see one type of wave as one colour, another as a different colour, and so on and so on and so on. Humans have 3 of these cone cells in our eyes. We have ones for red light, blue light, and green light. For all the other types of light, we kind of make it up as combinations of those. So we have 3 of those cone cells. Dogs have just 2 for blue and red. So that means dogs can see in colour, but they don't understand all of them like we do. They're a bit colourblind. And actually, I'm a bit colourblind too. One of my receptors, it doesn't really work, so the other 2 have to work together to figure out what I'm seeing. Cats have the same amount of cone cells as us, but they don't work as well. They've got 3, but they're just not as strong. But they make up for it because they've got brilliant night vision. They have things in their eyes which let them see very clearly in the dark, which helps them hunt in the evening. So, Maggie, yeah, cats and dogs can see in colour like us, but mainly not as well and not as many colours. Thank you for your question. If you have anything sciencey, make sure you leave it as a voice note for me on the free Fun Kids app and at funkidslive.com, and I'll try and answer it. Right, while we're learning stuff, let's head up to Deep Space High, shall we, and get a lesson at the smartest school in the solar system.
Deep Space High, Earthwatch, with support from the Royal Astronomical Society.
Jump into a wormhole and travel to Deep Space High, the school in space. But hurry, because lessons are about to begin.
Why are we in a field with some sheep?
These are the Yorkshire Moors. God's own country, Sam. No finer place in the universe, in my opinion.
If you say so.
If you want to learn about planets, the best place to start is with the one you're standing on. We can check out what planets are made of by looking right under our feet. Any ideas?
Grass, mud and sheep poo?
I was thinking a little bit further under than that. 60 kilometres thick, this crust. Bit more than you get on a loaf of bread. Some planets have thick crusts, others have thin ones. Where we hit the next level, things start getting interesting. This is the mantle, nearly 3,000 kilometres thick. A big gloopy mass of molten rock. Where it pushes against the crust, you can get moving layers called tectonic plates. And where you have moving tectonic plates, up on the surface you can get...
Volcanoes!
That's right. Now, I don't suggest you get too near to an erupting one, but if you watch a video of a volcano erupting, that fiery molten rock has come from the mantle. It's the insides of the planet.
That's so cool! So all this stuff down here is lava?
Same stuff, although we call it magma when it's under the crust. Hold on, we're getting near the core. Made of iron and nickel, it's a bubbling 5,000 degrees Celsius.
So even on a wintry day, deep under our feet, it's hot enough to melt rocks?
Exactly. We think all planets have a core. Again, some will be big, others much smaller, but probably all are made of similar stuff, we think.
But how do we know all of the planets are made out of the same stuff? They could be made of, I don't know, jam or cats.
I agree, that's theoretically possible, but look at it this way. Thousands of meteorites have landed on Earth and none of them have had jam or cats in them. They're mostly made of the exact same compounds inside the Earth.
Hey, you can see real meteorites in museums. Sometimes you can even hold them.
These days you can even buy them for a few pounds.
Great idea for a birthday present. Hey Pulsar, how do you organise a party in space? New planet! Get it?
This expedition's going to seem longer than the orbit of Jupiter if you keep telling jokes like that.
Deep Space High, Earthwatch, with support from the Royal Astronomical Society. Find out more at funkidslive.com/deepspacehigh.
That is it for the Fun Kids Science Midweekly. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions that you'd love to hear answered on the show, leave it as a voice note for me on the free Fun Kids app. You can do that at funkidslive.com too. And I will see you in a few days with a brand new episode of the Fun Kids Science Weekly.